Welcome to the Celebration of You. I'm your host, Holly Dowling. I'm thrilled to share with you incredible people from all over the world who are living and leading extraordinary lives. From overcoming immense adversity to discovering the secret sauce to leading with courage and grace. Their stories are going to bring you hope and inspiration. Now, let the stories begin. So excited. As always, I get goosebumps when I think about the amazing people that I get to celebrate on this show. And I always just pause for a moment to thank everyone out there. The latest is we're in over 100 countries. Didn't do this show with any intention like that. I guess when you're really following your soul's highest calling, things begin to happen because you're making a difference in this world. So the guests and their stories are why this show is here, and because of people like you that send in amazing messages. So get ready, because as always, I always like to tell you a little bit and brag about my guest. And this guest is like, talk about serendipity. We'll talk about it in a minute, how we met, as soon as I get her gorgeous voice on the phone. But I'm ready to be blown away because I didn't even realize. You meet somebody and you're like, oh, they're just amazing. They've got this beautiful energy. She's so electric. And then you find out, oh my God, you've done what? So on that note, I'm going to dangle the carrot. And I'm going to introduce you to the beautiful, the brilliant, the amazing Keri Murphy. Hi, love.
Hello, beautiful. I just love listening to you because I get goosebumps too. And I just feel like I'm listening to a soul sister, and so happy to be here. So thank you.
Well, we are soul sisters, and we do. Before I get to go in and tell everybody what you do, that's amazing, we have to give huge shout out to the beautiful and the amazing common soul sister of ours, Allie Brown, because that's how we met.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I saw you speaking on one of her stages, Holly, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this lady. And that's what's so great about when, like-minded women come into a room, this force and this synergy. And so thank you, Allie.
I know. Huge shout out to our girlfriend
Yes.
and amazing soul sister. And this is what she does. She creates these amazing connections, and then things just keep manifesting. And so here we are. So many exciting things getting ready to happen for you and I in this next 6 months. Before we go down that path, beautiful lady, you are the founder. I want everybody to hear this, because I'm always about when people find their passion or step out of fear and jump into faith to say, I'm going to do this. And you are the founder of Inspired Living, and actually have an Inspired Living TV show. And little did I know, no wonder you're so brilliant and beautiful at that, but you've been a lot in broadcast, from a modeling background, broadcast background. I can't wait to hear all about it. But before we go there, tell us all about Inspired Living. I'm so excited to hear about it.
When I heard you in the intro saying doing something that's your soul's highest calling, Holly, I think that, for me, Inspired Living is so that, and yet it's going to continue to rise, and the calling, I think, just gets greater as I step into it. But I truly believe, and this is the most cliche thing, and I understand that, and yet I only say them because they are so profound and true in my life, that everything happens for us, not to us. And I have been through so much in my life, and as an entrepreneur, I think sometimes people see a picture or they see a brand and make all these assumptions. And I just want to say, if there has been a challenge, I have the t-shirt, the banner, the sign, from relationships to finances to childhood trauma, like poster child. But I have to say that Inspired Living would not exist if any of that didn't happen. So the very long and short of it is I started, my first business in my 20s, and I had always done on camera since I was a little girl, and owned a talent agency, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more. And then when I moved out to LA in 2009, I was completely in this place of like recreation, I guess, like a rebirth. I had lost, quote unquote, everything that I thought was my identity and who I was going to be when I grew up. And God gave me this incredible opportunity to look and say, what do you really want to do? What are you really great at? And Holly, I think for so many of us, women especially, we don't even realize how great the vision can be. We don't even realize what's waiting for us when we say yes. And so Inspired Living now, I started it after a year of being a personal development trainer, traveling the world, teaching NLP and hypnosis and speaking and platform skills. And what I realize is that there are so many people who have these incredible passions and businesses and services that don't know how to articulate it in a way that's truly authentic and also gives them a level of authority. So inspired living is all about helping people create businesses that give back, that make the world a better place. And we teach them how to show up. We teach you how to be on camera. We teach you how to leverage. We teach you how to create systems and automation. So you're not the solopreneur who is trying to do everything by yourself, because that is going to bring you like straight to failure and overwhelm.
Yep.
So, and it's so funny because what it started out, it continues to morph and grow. But to me, inspired living is about doing that exact thing you said, your soul's highest calling, and figuring out a way to make the greatest difference you can while also creating an income that allows you to not only take care of your family and to do the things that bring you joy, but to also give back in some capacity. And to me, that is what inspired living is all about. And so that's what my company does.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm just sitting here smiling with my eyes closed because I'm like, oh, I just love it. And the fact that it was birthed and manifested because of, and again, why we're so anointed and soul sisters. And that's because we've been through a lot of stuff, and that stuff, as I know that you feel and believe the same way, I'm so grateful for, I call it the miracles in the mess, for all the stuff that I've been put through. And I never blamed God. I was never mad like you. We grew from it. You almost have to hit those rock bottoms to realize where your richness lives and your resilience and your perseverance. And there is a story that I want to go all the way back. So let's go, because I can't wait to hear this, because it's like, oh, here we go.
We're going back. Okay.
We're going back. So go with the journey with me. Take us back to, and I'm just as excited to hear this. Take us back to your young years. I know you were doing TV, you were modeling from a very young age, but take us from being a young girl, and maybe it was very young, maybe it was middle school, high school, I don't know. What was maybe you hit adversity. You hit a challenge that kind of changed the trajectory of your life. It was a pivotal moment. Take us back to that younger years. And what was a pivotal moment that you can look back on? And even if it wasn't beautiful then, it's made you the beautiful person you are today.
Oh gosh, Holly. So the first thing that comes up, if I'm being totally transparent, is when I was 11 years old, I went to my mom and told her I was being sexually abused by her dad. Yeah. And it was funny. We were sitting in the kitchen. I will never forget this day. And my older sister and my mom and I were all standing in our galley kitchen. And my mom says, "Hey, I think this girlfriend of yours might be sexually abused." And I sat there and I was like, well, this is interesting. And she went down to the bathroom again, like some imprints are so strong in your mind. And I remember walking down and following her. And I said, "Mom, this girlfriend isn't, but I am." And I'll tell you why that was such a shift.
Oh my God, I'm covered in goosebumps right now.
Because that same year was the year my mom finally put me into modeling and acting school. And let's just be very clear here. I was never a model. Like, I did some print work. I did some really hot mannequin modeling, like in the windows, very, very posh and sleek. But what it did is it gave me a new confidence. And I fell in love with being on camera and the ability to emote. And what's so amazing, Holly? I have done a gazillion interviews and never once have I put this 2 and 2 together, ever.
Really?
That year coming out and sharing this with my mom was the same year that I really found a way to express feelings that I didn't know how to express. And so acting became very easy for me. But I also found this just love of performance. And so that was 11. And come on, 11, you're such an awkward age, right? I come from a very curvy Italian family. So that's why I always laugh at the modeling. Because I grew up in the 80s. I will tell you, I really wanted to be a supermodel. It was a big deal back then. But what I found was, again, this ability to connect with the camera. And although I fell even more in love with the hosting, like just being myself and being able to connect with people on the other side. And I don't know why, I just love it so much. I love pulling story. I love pulling emotions. But that was the beginning of the Keri Murphy. I think the Keri Murphy you see now was the ability to say, "Hey, this is happening, Mom," going through court. And by the way, he was one of my favorite people on the planet. He was the guy who was like, "You want to be a model, you want to be an actress." I come from a huge family of entertainment and musicians. So I always knew I was going to be some sort of quote entertainer. And he was my rally. He was like, oh, we'll do this together. And yet sometimes your greatest champions are the ones who also betray you. And I think that's something that whether you're a child and you learn that, or you learn that years later through relationships or business partners, that, I never said, woe is me. I never said, God, I hate you. I did question why I was on this earth. And there were some moments that, I had some dark thoughts, but all of that, I feel like that really was the precipice for everything that I have been able to grow into.
And you're and my favorite line, we don't live in woe is me, we live in wow is me.
That's right.
And you are a walking testimony. And I just want everyone to just pause for a moment and listen to her voice. There is the most beautiful energy, this magnetic, gorgeous energy coming through. And there is not an ounce of anger or resentment. And what I love so much is that you shared that. And I have to ask you, because this is becoming a very prevalent, let's face it, a lot of families, it's coming out now, right? And we're talking about it where we used to never talk about it. I actually just had this conversation with some of my cousins this weekend because it's very prevalent in my family's past. And it's so fascinating that we're talking about this. But at 11 years old, Keri, first of all, where did you get the confidence and not be afraid to step up and tell your mom? For anybody listening, how did you do that? And what advice would you give?
I've had a relationship with my mom that was always very close. I always felt like my mom was my greatest champion. I still feel that way, imperfect as we all are as mothers, but I just felt like there wasn't anything I couldn't tell her. And yet I held that in for so many years because of all of those reasons, because of the fear, the guilt. It's her dad, and what I found out was that I wasn't the only one. Right. And I think that when we share those things that you feel so alone and you feel whatever guilt or shame or embarrassment, there are so many people going through the same thing. And this isn't just about sexual abuse. This is about everything in our lives where, women were these mighty warriors and we're like, no, I'm not going to ask for help. I'm not going to be vulnerable. And I think with my mom, I just knew it was safe, Holly. And I knew that she had my back. Yeah. And it just, that question that she asked about my girlfriend, whether she knew it was happening or not, or how it came to be, I also just knew it was the time that I had to share it.
Yeah. And you did it at 11 years old, and she had your back. And you know what's so cool about that right now is I think that can be the crossroads for a lot of people, because if that parent or that trusted person that you share that with doesn't have your back, it changes the trajectory of everything.
I would be a different person. There's no doubt about it. But like I said, what I found out is that it happened to her. It happened to my sister. It happened to so many other people. And so it was like, okay, we've got to put a stop to this. And it was like this family forged unity of moving forward. And, thank the Lord, my little sister wasn't impacted. It's like we broke the chain,
Good.
And so, I just always feel like, it was supposed to happen. I mean, it sounds horrible, but it created, whatever it did. And you're right, Holly, there is no anger because I've worked through all of it. I've done the work. I've done the healing. I've done the development. I've done the forgiveness. And I really am okay.
I can tell. Oh, no, and you come with such a beautiful energy. And I love the fact that I got goosies as I was just listening to you, because you guys forged ahead and you got to end a generational illness and a disease.
Yes.
And it got to stop with you, and your little sister didn't have to encounter that. So, I mean, I'm just sitting here in awe right now. No wonder I love you so much from the moment I met you, right?
I'm like, this was not expected today.
I know. See, well, I told you, neither one of us have scripts for our shows, right? We go where the spirit moves us, right? It's like, and it's just such a walk. Again, I want to keep saying it, my love. You're a walking testimony to, like, we can overcome. And I do believe that for people that don't believe in God, I don't know how you get through life without a faith. And yet it's all these tests that keep us going and make you the rich, beautiful, amazing woman you are. So fast forward now, the timing was amazing because you grew, you learned you could be strong. You stood up for yourself at a young age when most women can't. You were supported and forged ahead. And take us then into like now early 20s, maybe post high school, early education. You became really big in the broadcast arena. I mean, you were co-hosting shows. I mean, tell us all about this.
Yeah. So, throughout my teens, I want to say one other thing though, throughout my teens and even in college when I was pursuing the on-camera work and even some international modeling, which never happened. I always say this because I think it's really important to hear. People look at me and assume that, oh, of course it's easy for her. And I just want to say, of course it's not, right? Of course it's not. And as a young woman, I was always told, Holly, if you just lost 10 pounds, the world could open up. You'd get this and you'd get this. I cannot tell you how many times someone told me, you have it, you have all this going for you. You just need to lose 10 pounds. And this was all through my teens. So did I have body dysmorphia? I never had an eating disorder, but I never loved myself. I always felt well into my 30s, if I could only lose 10 pounds, I'd be successful. And now I get to say that's bullshit, right? That I'm all 10 pounds and more, and I am beyond, what I thought was possible. But I did go away. I come from 3 girls. I'm the middle, and I love being a middle, by the way. People say, middle child syndrome. I loved being the middle. And I was very involved. I got involved in pageants and helped run Miss Oregon and actually coached a Miss America. And I was doing a lot of commercial work and doing some film. But here's the thing. I knew that I had an affinity for being on camera, but I never trusted I could make a living doing it.
Interesting moment right there, right?
Yes. And I want to go back, and for you right now who our ears just perked up and you're listening, I want to say that one more time, because for me, this is what truly has revolutionized my world, is that I always knew that was something I should be doing. I always knew there was a talent, there was an ease, and I never believed I could make a living off doing it. So I want to say, God gives you all these amazing gifts and opportunity. And we sometimes say, oh, that's so nice, but I'm going to go where it's safe, and I'm going to go over here. Now, I'm going to say that everything that I've done, I've loved. I started my first business in my 20s. So I went away to school in California. Again, the only one to ever leave my family. And I did that for a year. And then I found out my parents were getting divorced. So I am the fixer in my family, come again from a very codependent household.
Like all of us. Yes.
I moved back home to be there for everyone. But while I did that, I went to work for the talent agency that I went through as a little girl. So I came home and I'm like, well, crap, what am I going to do now? So I was going to a community college. I went to work at the agency because I'm like, I need work. And here was, again, so amazing, is that I learned the ins and outs of every aspect of the agency I went through as a little girl. And it had a performing arts center. It was kind of like a Barbizon where you had classes. And
I so remember Barbizon. I'm sorry. Right? Wait, you just said that.
It back. Yeah, I know. So it was kind of like that. So they had classes and they had an agency. And so I worked there for 5 years. And then I really started to build this entrepreneurial muscle and was feeling very restless. So I actually stopped. I gave my notice and I went back to school and became an interior decorator for 5 years. Yeah.
Well, that was an extreme. Oh, hold on a second. That was like the teeter-totter. We go from camera and talent agency and then do interior design. Okay. Hold on. My head just spun.
Thing off of doing the on-camera stuff. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? And here's what's funny. My girlfriend, who we're still great friends today, she has an incredible business. She's been a guest at Brilliant the last 2 years. She started interior design. And I'm like, you know what? As a little girl, I would rearrange furniture so much. My bed would break. There'd be more holes on my walls. I mean, my mom would kill me, but I love design. And I think that's why I love designing brands and designing, I don't want to say people, but I love developing people into what's possible. I love seeing a space and looking at what's possible. I love looking into someone's soul and their business and go, oh my gosh, look at what you could do. That brings me a lot of joy. And that's always been who I've been. So the interior design was a bit of an offshoot. But while I was doing that, I was the local interior design expert on our morning show. I was still doing commercial work. Again, the on-camera stuff was always on the side. And here's what's so funny. I now teach entrepreneurs how to be on camera and use video to grow their business. I was doing that before it is what it is now. I was on camera. I was using video to grow my business. It was just in a much different way because we didn't have the platforms that are available now. So that was my 20s. My 20s was, building out the interior design business, still being a local host and co-anchor for things. And then here was the pivotal point.
Yeah.
At 27, I get restless. I get a 5-year itch.
I can tell. You've got a 5-year thing here.
Yes. Yeah. I had my agency. I had my design for 5 years, and then I had the talent agency for 5 years. The fact that I've had Inspired Living for 8 tells me I'm doing what I meant to do. I moved past the 5 years. But here's what's so funny, Holly. I remember I was getting restless with the design. pretty much because, when you do that sort of business, you're working for yourself by yourself. And I think that's why I really love working with this type of entrepreneur. You're successful, you're talented, but you're everything, right? You're trying to do everything and be everything within the business. And that's not sustainable. So at 27, my mom called me and she said, Keri, there's a modeling agency for sale. And I said, Mom, that's cool. I said, but I would want to develop talent. Like I would want to work with actors because that's my love, and I'm still teaching acting classes. I mean, Holly, I'm running pageants. It's crazy. All the
all the things you're still doing in the midst of having this entire interior design company, right? Yeah.
So my mom's like, okay, I'm just going to call on it really quick and I'll call you back. And she calls me back literally in 5 minutes and says, Keri, you won't believe who it is. And it happened to be the agency I went through as a kid, worked for out of college. And my mom and I ended up buying this talent agency. We both put down $15,000. I'm 27 and I jump in full on. I mean, if there was a deep end, I don't know how deep it could have been because I just dove right in. I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I took over the talent agency, again, had it for 5 years. We went from an agency that repped just kids and had less than 100 to an agency that repped adults, kids, babies. We had over 500 talent, 3 agents.
Wow.
Like we grew so fast, but then the recession hit and let's face it, that really sucked.
Yeah, it did. And it hit everybody, right? Every business was impacted. Yes.
I was so naive, Holly. I had no idea. No clue. I had no mentors. I had no marketing plan. I was too egocentric to like ask for help until I was like, excuse my language. Oh shit. Like I am out of money, out of cash, out of possibilities. And then you start like, running for help wherever you can. That was the absolute one of the hardest things I've ever been through because I feel like when you're younger, your business actually, you let your business define who you are.
Yes.
And, I'm in Portland, I was a big fish in a small town, again, I helped start the fashion week there. I was the runway coordinator. I sat on boards. I mean, I had such a full life. I was married and divorced there.
Wait, I love that, right? A caveat.
And then there's this time that you wake up and you're like, oh my God, everything that I thought I was is gone. Everything, my home, my marriage, the business. And here I am, 33, going, well, I guess the only thing I can do now is to go back to what I know I'm great at, which was the on-camera stuff. And I just happened to sign with a great agent. I had done some big shows like the Golf Channel and MTV the same year the agency was in dire straits and closing. And so I always say like, God will tap us on the shoulder and then we get the 2x4. And it was a mad truck. I feel like I got hit with, but it did allow me to really start over and not do something I felt like I should do, but something that I am. Like it really embodies my greatest and highest good. And there's so much more to share. I could talk for way more than anyone would want to listen to, but I just want to say that if you're in that place in your life right now where, you're being rattled and you're being tested and like it is an awakening if you allow it to be.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
It a lot of awakening.
Well, and I love these stints, right? These 5 years. It's like you have had sprints in your life, 5-year sprints, right? I'm going to call them sprints. And you know what's cool? You said something that I don't want anybody to miss. So you were building the design business, right? The interior design business. And all the while, you're still doing the side hustle stuff you love, which is the on-camera work, right? Doing that. Little did you know, and you were doing the morning show with the design business. So you made that comment, and I'm like, many times, if we're really open to what the universe has and what God has, and it changes daily, but you were curating what has now become your number one passion to help others do, but you were curating it and living it. And I'm such a believer, Keri. I always say to people, I want to listen to people that have walked in my shoes. One of my biggest things is when somebody says to you, oh, it's going to be okay. You go, but have you ever walked in my shoes, right? Have you ever been there? So for you to be so excited to help entrepreneurs and most of all, to really enhance their visual presence, right? And take all that to the next level. For goodness sakes, you were doing it and didn't even realize that all that you were doing was building your credibility. Oh my God, I'm getting the goosebumps right now as I say it. My eyes are closed. I got goosies. It was all part of this whole journey to then go take this and help people all over the world do it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you for that insight. And you're absolutely right. It's like everything that I did, the talent agency, the interior design, the morning shows, everything, has brought me to this place. And honestly, like I sit here right now, we have chapters that I think are full of struggle and growth. And then we have chapters you can sit in it for a minute and go, wow, like really wow. And I'm looking out my window right now at the ocean, in this house and with my daughter. And I mean, I could just I can just like drop to tears because it's just so amazing what is possible for each and every one of us. I mean, no one is born more extraordinary than the other.
Yes.
We just
Right.
get to choose how we're going to manifest and show up and take chances. I think a lot of it is taking chances. I've never been, risk adverse. Let's just put it that way.
No, you haven't.
I don't even probably think about the risk. I'm just like, sounds good. Let's go. Quick start, 1,000,000,000%. And I think that has served me and hurt me, but it's all allowed me to create what it is now that we do.
Oh, and I am literally in awe because as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, we've had such similar paths, right? The mountains and the valleys, right? The ups and the downs and the joy, like every day it's choose joy. You know that life has so much and you're sitting there and you have this beautiful daughter and you have this beautiful life and it hasn't come on a silver platter. It hasn't come because it's been an easy road. It's because you've worked for it. You've dreamed big. You've never stopped dreaming. And just to go back to this, because there's something I'm going to tell you here in a moment that I'm going to let you hang with, okay? And that is when you went back to that recession and basically losing everything from a home to the business to the marriage, did you ever have a moment when you just thought, because I've been in a similar place that I will let you share to the world, because very few people know a part of my past that we'll talk about when I'm on your show. And
Yes.
I will open up to the world about that. It just is coming so strongly to me in my spirit. Did you ever have that moment when you really thought you've got to be the only person out there? I mean, like the black cloud hanging over you and thinking nobody else could have gone through this. Did you ever have those moments thinking you were all alone?
I mean, yes, of course. I would lie if I said no, but there was always an optimism, always. Like I never felt like this was going to be the end of my life because I do believe in God. And I do believe that, gosh, if I'm going to be stripped of all of this, there's gotta be something else, So, you know what I felt though? I felt a lot of shame.
Yeah. Shame. That's a good word. Yeah.
I felt a lot of guilt. Like I let everyone down. Like I can't believe, I built this and I lost it. And, what are people going to think of me? So when I work with people and they're so scared to be judged, like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was out there to be crucified. Trust me, there were some people that were very unhappy about the situation of closing the agency. And, there are many things I could have done differently. I always say, we do the best with what we know. If we knew better, we'd do better. My heart has always been full of integrity. But, I'm very much an imperfect person. So yes, I felt like there was a time that I really lost myself. There was probably a year where I've never cried so much. I felt so alone. And yet I knew I had family and friends and faith, but absolutely, there was definitely a dark valley that I had to go through in order to come back out the other side.
And what's so beautiful about what you just said, family, friends, and faith. And again, to that, I don't know how people get through life in the darkest times when you don't have a faith. I mean, it can be tested. Doesn't mean we don't scream at God, right?
Yeah.
And yet that's and here you are, right? Another beautiful chapter in your life and you're changing lives and you're empowering people. And oh my goodness. And I know when I met you, you had just had this baby girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So tell us about now you're a mom and you're loving
I
that,
am.
right? And that's another journey for you, right?
It sure is. Funny because both my sisters, my little sister has 4 kids. My older sister has 2. They always knew they were going to be moms. When I was a kid, I was like, I want a penthouse in New York and I want to be really rich. Like it was just, and then as I got older, I was like, you know what? I really do. And, the relationships were always at a different time than my clock. And, so Lauren was a surprise, never a mistake, the greatest blessing in my entire life. But, being someone who is not living by her family, who has chosen to live in a different state, who, is building a business and now is a single mom, looking back, because now I'm in this beautiful relationship. But that's a short time compared to, how long I've been in this situation. It's like, he always says to me, Keri, I honestly don't know how you did it. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know how I did either, but you do.
You do.
We do. And I will say being a mom has been the most amazing gift God could ever give me, you know, and I'm thinking, gosh, do I want to try it again? I don't know. But, Lauren's an incredible little girl. She's surprise, surprise, very independent. And just so much fun. I mean, and yet very challenging. You know, we were just away and we got back and, you know, she's just testing and really wants more time. And, you know, it's interesting. And to think of, okay, you know, she's a little person who doesn't have the ability to think how we think, right? So how can I think like she thinks? It's just the weirdest thing, you know, and it's always like, but it's amazing. I'm so thankful. She's such a blessing, Holly.
Well, and this is why I had to bring it up, because you bring even this essence of joy to the gift of being a parent and the gift that you were given to be a mother in the most unexpected circumstances. And you're like, and to hear your joy. And I just want people listening to know, you know, I was just like you. I never dreamed of being a mother. It was never my thing. I was just going to go have my big career, you know, go travel the world, do all these things. And when God decided it was time for me to have a child, right? These boys changed my life forever. And so hopefully when I'm with you in California, you will get to meet. My oldest is 27. So I'm really dating myself, but I want you to know that
I could have had a baby a long time ago. I was a late mama.
I love it. You're the late mama, but the gorgeous mama. And it's so like who you are. I want to brag. Okay. So before we wrap this up, one of the things I love to ask my guests, and then we're going to brag on all the exciting things you have coming up that we're going to announce to everybody. I love to ask my guests, Keri, and from your heart, you know, if you went back to your younger self, and, you know, this might be back as early as your late teens, not necessarily your early 20s, because you were a very strong woman at a young age. You know, you're like an old soul. And so go back to that younger girl, and maybe it's as early as 11, 12, 13, 14, but what advice would you give that younger version of you based on who you are today and all that you've been through? What advice would you give her?
I would tell her to trust herself. And as simple as that sounds, I always questioned, you know, if I was good enough or pretty enough. And I was always a leader. I was the president of this and the captain of this. And, you know, on the outside, it really looked like there was no insecurity issues at all, because I really enjoy inspiring people. And for me, that gave me a platform to do that. No wonder my company's Inspired Living. But there was always doubt. There was always doubt that I really couldn't make it. I was either too fat, too this, too that. I needed someone to do it with me. I couldn't leave my family. I mean, there's so many things. And so, and even as a woman now, I constantly have to remind myself to trust myself, that when I'm in doubt, there's a reason. When I'm in flow, there's a reason. That my intuition, good Lord, when it comes up, to listen to her. And so it's so simple, but I think we're conditioned in life to go this way, right? Everything else is scary. Go the way go down the road everyone knows. And I would say to continue to go down the road less traveled, to trust yourself and continue to risk, because I risk now because I've been through everything. But when I was younger, I think I was scared, you know?
Yeah.
So
I love that. As simple it is, but it's so profound to trust yourself. You also just said something, Keri, that I don't want anybody to miss. And that was, you said, pause and listen to yourself. Listen to what's happening inside. And I think we are in a world, we could do a whole show on this, but we're living as hamsters on a hamster wheel. There's so much noise. There's so much distractions, right? From all of the devices and just everything that and I even tell leaders, Keri, just so you know, stop. I firmly believe there's a lot of good books out there and lots of good material and content, but what you need more than anything is to stop shoving knowledge down your brain and give yourself a time of pause and silence and listen to the wisdom coming from within.
Oh, amen, sister. Yes.
And you just said it, because you're like, it's when I start to listen. And when you're starting to doubt yourself, right? You go, then I just know to pause and listen. And if that is the greatest advice we can leave for people, is carve out the time. I always say silence is nectar for my soul. And Keri, you are a walking example of continuing to listen to your soul, continuing to be a servant. You're such a gorgeous servant of inspiring people. And now let's brag on you. You have a lot of exciting things. Let's announce to people. I get to be on your show. We're going to be filming that here in the next month, I think, in California.
Wait.
Can't wait.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. Yeah, and Inspired Living TV, I just have to say, I moved out here, signed with an agent, was doing all the auditioning stuff and teaching acting classes, doing, personal development coaching and training. And, it's like we do what we need to do until it becomes clear. So I also just want to remind people that just because sometimes you're in a place that's unknown or uncomfortable and you're just like, gosh, I don't even know what's going to happen. It is just take the next step. And it was just for me saying yes to things and just trusting. But I remember there was one time I was sitting in an audition room with like 300 supermodels. No kidding.
Really?
I mean, my 30s in LA, I might as well be 90, right? So, and I walked out of that, Holly, and I'm like, I was in tears. It was 3 hours. Remember, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, and I'm in a bikini for a spokesperson job. And I'm like, why am I here? That moment, that was like, this is not your destiny. So I Inspired Living TV was born then. I had, Kevin Sorbo was a Facebook friend because he's a big golfer and I had hosted some golf stuff. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, Kevin, big fan. I'm launching this show. I really want to showcase stories of celebrities and successful people about how they got to where they are, because the stories are what it's so amazing. And we see ourselves in other people's story. And I'm telling you, if I could just do this all day, every day, I love sharing stories and I can't wait to sit down with you and share your story.
I'm so excited.
The reason why I bring that up is because so many times we wait for someone to give us permission or an opportunity. Like, oh, I just want my own show. Well, hello, create your own show. Create what it is that you want. And now we have these platforms that we never had before that we can do that. And so my team and I really love helping people really show up as, that expert or that visionary or that thought leader or that spokesperson. So that's where Inspired Living really started, was I'm saying, I don't want to wait anymore for someone to give me opportunity. I'm ready to create it. And so it's one of those things that I'm really looking to grow this year, as well as launching the podcast around it. We've done Inspired Living TV for a long time, but it's kind of been, hit and miss with the interviews. So I have a production team now and it's just so fun. It's like, don't worry about it being perfect in the beginning. Right. I think everyone feels like they have to have this great crew and this great team. And oh my Lord, if you saw me in the beginning with like my handy cam and like horrible lighting, it's like we all start somewhere. Yeah. Stop waiting for everything to align perfectly to do what you're here to do anyway. So that's my big rah-rah for today.
I love it. And it's the best rah-rah is that you had no idea what tomorrow's going to look like. You're just going with the flow.
I had no clue.
Right? No clue. Yeah. And then let's not forget to announce so everybody knows that in June, you're having your big annual event. And I am so honored and blessed to be a speaker at your event. And that is, what details can you share with everybody that's not secret yet? Do you want to announce it?
Actually, we did announce it. Yes, it is official this week. It's called The Brilliant Event. And Allie and I, our mutual friend, were sitting down talking because I was telling her, I have all these amazing girlfriends that have created these 7- and 8-figure brands and businesses. They're making these huge impacts in people's lives. And we have these amazing conversations behind closed doors. And it's not the Pollyanna rah, 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 right? It's like, oh my God, I'm being sued over this. This just happened. I just had a team member leave. I had someone steal from me. The conversations were so juicy and rich. And I was like, okay, we need every businesswoman who wants to build a sustainable, successful brand to come learn from other women that have done it. And not just coaches teaching coaches and speakers teaching speakers, but people from all different industries sharing how they built from the ground up what I call a brilliant brand. And you are absolutely one of those women, Holly. And so this is the 3rd year. And people get so excited about Christmas. I get so excited about Brilliant. It is such an incredible community. The spirit that shows up in the room, it is very much workshop educational, but it's also raw and real and the relationships that come from the 2.5 days. I've never attended or facilitated anything like Brilliant.
I love
And
it.
so
I love
can't
it.
wait. I can't wait. And it is though. It also is very much like, this is what I learned and this is how you can do it quicker, faster, easier, right? Like, how do you really be a thought leader? What is a micro influencer? Good Lord. And how do you work with them to build your brand? How do you really use social media? How do you use video? How do you get around your money blocks? Like, everything that we're going to talk about is about not just making it. I think 6 figures is awesome. And I think that's great. But if we're really going to create the inspired lives that's going to change the world, we need to create enough disposable income that what we give back makes a significant difference in the lives around us. And so that's what I'm about. And that's what Brilliant is about. And if you are a woman right now who, you have a business, maybe you're generating some great income, but you still feel like you're hitting a ceiling and you just need support in how to get to that next level and really be seen as that leader, Brilliant is for you. And again, I have people who have huge product lines, people who, like you, that are incredible thought leaders and consultants and speakers. I have Kim Coles, who is a comedian and TV actress who has broken through so many boundaries and adversity. Amanda Tress, this woman makes
I know. She's amazing.
Ridiculous.
I know.
It's ridiculous what she's built through her micro influencer and the millions she brings in a month.
I know. She's crazy. And she just believed in it and made it happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Within 3 years. I want to learn from those people. So I'm bringing them to you. So it's June 2nd through the 4th in Redondo Beach. You can go to thebrilliantevent.com and it's only 80 people. That's the max we can fit in the room. And I do that on purpose. Yep. I want it to be like a girlfriend's, a meeting of the minds, and high end, because it is gorgeous, because that's the way I roll. Yeah. But there's this intimacy about it. Yeah, no, it feels like you walk into the Ritz. Like, it's the way I roll. I love it. But it's also very accessible. Nothing feels like you can't hug it, which is the way I like it.
I love the way you just said that. Oh my God, I love the way you just said it. I'm taking that one home with me, and I'm going to give you credit for it. It doesn't feel like you can't hug it, because I'm the biggest hugger in the world.
Me too.
Me too. Keri, I just love this, every minute of this moment with you, and just everybody, reach out to her, let her know, like, if you want to come to that, but just reach out to Keri. Keri, what's the best way for people to reach out to you before we wrap this up?
Yes, I would say go to the website, which is inspiredliving.tv. And we actually have a great gift on there, Holly. People ask me all the time how to set up their home or studio to be most camera friendly. So we have the Be Studio Ready camera guide, and it's actually really juicy. It's a beautiful printout.
I need that, girlfriend. I'm going to get it.
Everything that you need. Yeah. So you can go, and you can get Inspired Living TV. You can get business tips. We give a lot of really amazing content out for absolutely free. So you can go to inspiredliving.tv. And if you want to reach me personally, just email hello@inspiredliving.tv. If you want to talk to someone on the team, if you want to see how we can support you, it would be our honor and blessing to do so.
Oh, I love it. And I love you. And I can't wait for we have so many exciting things that we're doing together in 2019. So
I love it. It's all about synergy too. It's like this year I decided, you know what? I want to collaborate more. I think for so long I was like, I just want to do it on my own. I'm just going to build it. And I invested in coaches and mentors, but I mean, it's like having a female posse that like really is amazing women like we bring together at Brilliant. There's nothing like it. You can't even pay for it. It's just the most beautiful kind of like sisterhood.
It is. It's a sisterhood.
It's a sisterhood. Yes. And I'm just so excited to have you as one of those sisters.
Well, thank you, my love. It's mutual. And I am so many things going on. And thank you for sharing your heart, your soul, being so authentic. And that's a big word right now. And I just want everybody to hear that. Authenticity is a big word globally, especially in the corporate space. And somebody asked me not too long ago, what do you call authenticity, Holly? And I go, you know what? I sum it up as being transparent. It's transparency. And you've been so transparent. And I believe that's why God's using you, Keri, because of your transparency and your brilliant, no pun intended, and your brilliant spirit to make a difference. So thank you, my friend. Can't wait to see you soon.
I can't wait to see you too.
Oh, love it. Thank you for joining me for another awesome celebration of you. If you were inspired by this story, please share it with your family and friends and hashtag Your Story Matters. I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment on iTunes. And absolutely, please come to my website, hollydowling.com. Leave a comment there too, and while you're there, pick up your free gift. Most importantly though, just remember that your life is a gift from God. What you do with it is your gift back.